What's up guys, Spin Firearms here. This week is going to be a lot of viewer requested videos. And I just want to let you know prior to the video, I'm pretty dang sick right now. So it is what it is. If you hear me coughing or sniffling or whatever the case may be. Anyways, Glock 26. There's a lot of people out there that just don't like Glocks. And I completely understand it. Their lack of innovation. Their lack of listening to customers. They make great, reliable handguns, but they just don't keep up in today's market. And for a lot of people, that frustrates them. There's always brand battles going on between Glock and SIG, and you know, the internet's always in a battle and whatever. It doesn't really matter. But people always want to know what are other options that are comparable somewhat to the Glock 26. And in my opinion, the Glock 26 is the king of the subcompact realm, but there are many great options that aren't too far behind. Now, why is subcompact? Well, one, it's really small, especially Glock 26. This dimension right here is shorter than a Hellcat. It is a little thick, typically has a longer barrel than your average Micro 9, which is better for penetration and stuff like that, accuracy. They tend to just shoot really well for their size. They tend to shoot like a compact or a full size with less muzzle flip. And on top of that, you can always make them bigger. So I can turn this into a Glock 19 capacity-wise, a Glock 17. I can put as large of a magazine as I want in this Glock. But one thing you can't do with like a Glock 17, for instance, is you can never shrink it down to the point where it can fit in your pocket. You just can't. Unless you cut the frame or whatever the case may be, and then still, the slide is way too long. On top of that, carrying this is going to be much more comfortable than a Glock 19 or a Glock 17. Not only printing-wise, but also if you carry appendix as a man, having a shorter barrel and slide is much more comfortable. So let's explore some other options. I think the best option other than the Glock 26 for a subcompact honestly goes to the CZ P10S. And that's for a couple reasons. It isn't my favorite on the table, but most people can afford this. This goes for $350. I've heard of people getting it as low as $325. Some people paying as high as $400. I paid $399 when it first, a couple years ago, not when it first came out, but a couple years ago, and I'm satisfied with that price that I paid. It is worth all the $400. The trigger on this is completely different than any Glock you'll ever have. It just blows every Glock trigger ever made away. It just is what it is. And it just fits the hand nice. Like I said, it takes larger magazines. This one, though, has a little bit longer barrel length than the other subcompacts on here, having a little bit longer slide. It's more like a compact up top. 10+1 on the right, 12+1 on the left. So with a flush base plate, you can see where the Glock lacks those 2 rounds, so they're pretty even. But yeah, just a good shooting handgun. Nice trigger guard, takes down like a Glock, has a rail. That's one thing the Glock doesn't have as well. It does not have a rail. And I believe there's optic-ready versions of this particular handgun. Next up on the counter, what I would say I like next is the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 subcompact. Now, I think nowadays they make them with the flat-face trigger. I did not get it at that time, but this has a lot of texturing that your Glock will never have. Comes with metal sights, unlike your Glock. Comes with a rail, unlike my Glock. You can keep making comparisons like that all day, and there's still large magazine options for this handgun. I believe I have a 24-rounder or something like that, but very comparable in size, a little bit wider than a Glock 26. It's just a good, solid compact, and this right here in this setup is 12+1. Honestly, I can't fault you for getting any of these handguns right here. They're all great. They all run. Out of this whole table, I haven't had one single malfunction, and there's more handguns down here that you can't see. So out of all of those, it's pretty amazing that I haven't had one single issue. Next up, I would have to go with the XD. This right here is the Mod 1. This has a special place in my collection because this is one of the first handguns I ever picked up. This is sitting at 14,000 rounds. Has had a barrel swap and a couple part replacements, but that's simply preventative maintenance. There has not been any issues or problems with it. Yeah, it's sort of ugly to a lot of people. People don't like the grip safeties, the slide and bore axis is high, but it's a really nice shooting handgun, a really nice handgun for people who are getting into handguns and learning how to carry with a round in the chamber and stuff like that. It's an awesome, awesome handgun, and it handles recoil like a champ because of that big, heavy slide. Looks sort of awkward, Glock 26 compared to it. And on the left, it's going to be 13+1. So they're generally speaking, they're all going to have roughly the same capacity. Obviously, the Glock 26 is going to be shorter, but that's because it's 10+1. Next up, I would have to say Ruger SR9C. This handgun is awesome. This is like my second handgun I ever got, or maybe my first. I think this is actually my first handgun, then a Ruger EC9S was my second. But just an absolute gem of a Ruger. You don't find Rugers like this. The Security Series cannot compete with this handgun. The trigger is unbelievable on it. It's crisp, it's clean, has a nice reset. It comes with a 17-round mag as well as a 10-round mag that's flush. The ergonomics are on point. And I don't know if you guys saw, but recently Honest Outlaw made a YouTube short on it, calling it one of the best handguns for the money. And I would definitely agree. One of my first carry concealed handguns, or oriented handguns, right? 10+1 on the left, 10+1 on the right. Sort of loses that battle in capacity, but basically the same footprint. You guys get the point. It's an awesome handgun. Like I said, it comes with that 17-round mag. That would be like a Glock 26 coming with a Glock 17 mag, right? That'd be absolutely awesome. They just don't do it. Came with this beautiful finish, and this is when Ruger was making good quality, high-end firearms. They just don't make them like they used to. Next up, I have to go Beretta PX4 Storm. This thing right here is 13+1, has this little cool feature on it, allowing you to get 2.5 fingers on it. A lot of people call it ugly. A lot of people think it looks nice. I think it looks really cool. I think it's an awesome looking handgun. Texturing is a little weak on it. Comes with nice sights on it, 3-dot sights. Comes with a cocker, single action, double action. So boom, now you're in double action. But if you want that nice single action trigger pull, just clean and crisp. 13+1 on the left, 10+1 on the right. Just an awesome handgun. It's really deceiving on how small it actually is. I think it's a 3-inch barrel, but this thing is just a gem. And I found it at a local hole-in-the-wall place, and it was just, I knew I had to have it. Shout out to my buddy who recommended it at that store. But it's a great shooting handgun for people who want safety and a double-action trigger pull to start it off, and then have a nice, smooth, clean single-action trigger pull. This is the way to go. This is Beretta's rival to the Glock 26. Next up, I have to go FNS 9C. Even though the trigger isn't the greatest on it, this comes also with a 17-round mag, and then a 12-round, I believe it is. Yes, 12-round flush mag. And then they have a 12-round mag that comes with a pinky extension, but it's sort of pointless because it doesn't add capacity. Comes with a rail, a really nice FN finish on it, 3-dot sights that are really, really nice. It's just a good shooting handgun and a good-looking handgun, so that's definitely got that going for it. A little bit longer than a Glock 26. Like I said, 12+1 on the left, 10+1 on the right. Just a good handgun. The trigger is not the greatest, though, like I said. It's got the hinge on it, but, I mean, it does its job. The main problem I have with the trigger is that reset. Now, one thing you're going to notice is a lot of these are discontinued, so you do have to find them on the used market. And if you really do take your time, do your research, stuff like that, you can find them online, no problem. Next up, the Stoger STR9 Subcompact. This is the budget version of a Glock 26. 10+1, has a nice large trigger guard, comes with a rail, and this thing is surprisingly great. I got mine for $230 when it was on sale, and it's been absolutely awesome. You can't really find them on sale for that price anymore. I think some of my videos, because one of my best videos I ever made with the most views was actually on this, so I think they jumped the price up a little bit because of it. Who knows? Anyways, 10+1 on the left, 10+1 on the right. Just an awesome, awesome handgun. Like I said, it's a budget-oriented version. You know, what I would do, buy a Glock 26 or one of those other models, and then buy one of these for backup in case it's ever down. That way you still have something to carry. Mine's been 100% reliable. No issues. I'll show you that trigger real quick. I would say the #1 problem with this handgun is finding magazines for it. You cannot find them at your local gun store, and online they're oftentimes sold out. But it does take the larger handguns of the larger models. Then, the Taurus G3C. I like all these handguns. So just because they're in order like this doesn't mean I don't like any of them or that they're not good. They're all great handguns. 12+1 in the Taurus G3C. The finish is terrible on it, and I do prefer the Stoger over it. But once again, I don't care about the finish as long as it's been reliable. And it's been a great, great handgun. Have the option of a manual safety, a rail, takes Glock sights, takes down like a Glock, little memory pads or gas pedals there. Great texturing on the G3C. Really nice texturing. Right there, 12+1 on the left, 10+1 on the right. That's what it looks like up top. Very comparable to the Glock 26. Love the G3C. Now, 2 options I wanted to point out. You got to give them respect. They don't make it anymore, but you can get the M&P 40C. That's in, obviously, 40, but they do sell conversion barrels. I actually have 2 conversion barrels for this. So you can make it into a Glock 26 and 9mm. You can find these everywhere for like $300 in the used department. I got mine on Bud's Gun Shop, used. I think it was just below $300. And this thing was clean as can be, had nothing on it, and it was a law enforcement backup. And man, does this handgun shoot really well, especially in 9mm. And then next up, the HK version. I don't have this in 9mm, so once again, you can find conversion barrels online for this. But this was $350 or $400 cheaper than the 9mm version. So in that case, I bought this, and you just buy a conversion barrel for it. You have both calibers in this handgun for cheaper than the 9mm version. So this is an HK P2000 SK single action, double action decocker. Here's our single action trigger pull. And then double action, or I shouldn't even cock that, or I wanted to show you the cocker, that's why I did that. Decocker, double action trigger pull. So not bad at all. That's 9 + 1 of 40. Check that out. Just a really nice handgun, and you can just tell this thing is meant to last a lifetime. Do I carry this? No, I do not. Does it stay ready? Yes, it does. Actually stays in one of my backup safes at my house, and I love this thing. It's a blast to shoot at the range. You just have to get used to the trigger, especially if you're used to carrying something like this. It is a jump up and a difference going to something like this. So I hope you guys found some cool recommendations, some awesome handguns out there. Trust me, guys, the used section of websites is the best way to go. You get a handgun for cheap that typically has barely been used, especially law enforcement backups. They're rarely used. There's nothing wrong with them. Maybe a couple dents, scratches, whatever. But the internals of the handgun typically run great. And this, because it was in 40, was only $500. So absolutely love it. And I found this on PSA. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.